Everybody, welcome to Ask Expert at the Espresso. My name is Catherine Xiang. At this playlist, we invite experienced experts and Mandarin educators to share about their research, their teaching methodology, and unique insights in teaching Chinese as a foreign language. 大家好，非常欢迎来到名师讲坛这个访谈系列，我是 Catherine。那么在这个讲坛系列呢，我会邀请我们的汉语专家，然后教育者来分享他们独特的教学经验以及研究和科研。那最重要的呢，也是会给大家一些学习汉语的经验。So I'm really honored and excited to have Professor Fangyuan Yuan join us today from America, actually. Hello, Professor Yuan. Would you like to say hi very quickly?
Hello. Hello, Dr. Jiang. Yeah.
Great. So please allow me to introduce Professor Yuan formally. So Dr. Fangyuan Yuan, she is a professor of Chinese at the Languages and Cultures Department at the United States Naval Academy. And her research interest includes instructed Chinese as a second language, task-based language teaching, Chinese second language acquisition, and teacher education. She has published about 30 research articles and authored or edited 3 books, including Classroom Research in Chinese as a Second Language in 2019, and Instructed Second Language Acquisition in 2016, and currently she is co-editing a monography, Pedagogical Grammar and Grammar Pedagogy in Second Language Chinese. She has also published 3 textbooks, and one of which entitled Business Chinese for Success, Real Cases from Real Companies in 2014 and 2005 respectively. And that has been reprinted 9 times, extremely popular textbook. And she served as the president of Chinese Language Teacher Association in America in 2019 and 2020. So it's wonderful to have her today to share about her research. And particularly, she will talk about her research project alongside in terms of task-based language teaching in particular. So thank you very much, Professor Yuan, for joining me, and over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction and for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity and to share with the audience about my teaching and research. And okay, so I'd like to say a few words about my academic background. My doctorate degree is in second language education. And my advisor is, Dr. Routledge, a big name in the field. So under his guidance, my doctorate thesis was to investigate how task conditions can impact the learner's output in terms of fluency, accuracy, and complexity from cognitive perspective. And 3 articles actually were published based on this thesis under my name and Dr. Routledge's name. And they are widely cited by later researchers. From my work with Dr. Routledge, I learned how to do research, how to collect data, how to interpret data, how to use research tools, statistics, so on and so forth. At the same time, my doctoral work with Dr. Routledge helped me reflect my experience as a language learner, back in China, of English as a second language. Also helped me reflect my teaching experience as a foreign language of English back in China and Chinese in the United States. So the result of my reflection actually was that I should do something, do my part to make some changes through teaching, through research, through textbook, and so through those things. So for the past 20 years, I just use task-based language teaching principles as a framework to do research, to write books, to write articles, to publish textbooks. And so I feel so lucky in some way that my teaching is very closely related to the research areas I have. So now here, I would like to use this example to show you how my teaching and my research are related.
Excellent. Yeah, please do. I'm so envious because I remember when I was doing my master's, in terms of language education, and we all read Alice's textbook and book, right, about his research. I didn't know you were his student, and I actually met him once at a conference when he was visiting Britain. So small world, but yeah, great.
Oh, yeah. I'm his last student actually in the United States. Then he left for New Zealand. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Now I will share the screen.
Yeah,
yes.
please do.
Okay, everyone. I would like to use this example to show the connections between my teaching and my research. Now, this task, so-called dicto clause, and in Chinese, I translate it as 听录任务. Yeah, I use this task a lot in my teaching. So this is basic format of this task. It has 3 stages. So 听, so input, then preparation and output. Different from conventional or traditional dictation. And students do not have to write down word for word of what they have heard from the teacher. They have the opportunity to use their own linguistic resources, such as vocabulary, sentence pattern, and based on their notes and based on the meaning they have heard, they reconstruct the passage. So now in this way, they are not a passive learner anymore. They become active learner in the whole process. So this is a basic format of this task. Yeah, we can do a lot to elaborate, to expand it into a more complex task. Now look at this example. So we could just call it as expanded version of this 听录任务. So in terms of passage input passage, we can do it in form focused passage and meaning focus. In form focused passage, we can input or flood or embed a lot of time, a lot of target structures, such as 把字句 in Chinese and 时间 time expressed in Chinese. So for this one, actually I use this one for my second year Chinese students. Now, students have difficulty in using time expressions, perhaps because of the influence from their mother tongue, English. So, for example, for this one, I said, 王鹏正在看电视的时候，李友打电话说想跟他6点以后、8点以前一起去吃饭。So a lot of time expressions are embedded here. So students are listening to this passage and listen for meaning, and they prepare for their production. So if you want students to prepare to write a better one, you can provide them with a kind of framework for them to take notes. So the first time, they'll just take down the time and the things they are doing at that time. So with that one in hand, when they produce something, they can just write a coherent and meaningful passage. So this is something. Yeah, this is one way of expanding version of this dicto clause task. Now here, in the second stage, the preparation, students can prepare for the production individually. They can prepare in pairs and in groups. And when they output the passage, they can do it individually. They can do collaboratively in pairs, in group. Of course, it depends. Whatever you choose to do as a teacher depends on the time you have, and depending on the purpose of your teaching. Perhaps you want to create a kind of a competitive environment like a test. Perhaps you want to create a kind of collaborative environment for students to do research work, to do teamwork, so that students can do it in a joint effort. They put together the something they know, vocabulary they know, sentence patterns they know. So in this way, students might produce a better piece. And after the task, actually, we can do something further. We can provide students with original passage. So students compare whatever they have written with the original passage in order to notice the gap between the two. So through this comparison, they can learn something they lack before or during their writing. And we can also use this opportunity, this time, to do correct feedback. And so we just correct students' mistake and in a meaningful context. Another thing we can do is to repeat the task. We just repeat the task with the original passage. We can repeat tasks with similar, different, but similar passage. So this is something I often use in my teaching. Also, I use this one as my research project. So look at this one. And now this study was published last year. I just used task repetition and to see the effects of task repetition on students' development of LE, this usage. We know LE is difficult even for advanced learners. So I just use that dicto class and just with embedded task structure of LE that ask students to do that. But I manipulate task conditions. So I divided students into 3 groups. So this group is a group, it's a control group. So students don't do anything. They just come to attend a metalinguistic session on LE use. Then there's another group. It's called single task group. Now this group only perform that task just one time. Then we have another group. It's called task repetition group. Now this group performed the task twice. So for this kind of research, for this study, I just asked students to do 3 tests. So pre-test and post-test and delay post-test. Between pre-test and delay post-test, they receive this treatment, whether they do single task or repetition of that task. Then 2 weeks later, I asked students to do a free writing to see whether students can use the LE, different uses of LE in their free writing. So now that is the implicit knowledge of LE. Now this is the result of that study. So still 3 groups. Now pre-test, post-test, and delay post-test. So I divided. I especially look at verb final LE and sentence final LE, and so as well as disallowable LE. That means when in some cases the LE should not be used, but students overuse them. So I just count the number, how many times they overuse that one. And yes, so now this is the pre-test. So this is the comparison among the groups in 3 ways. And this is free writing results. And so still 3 groups. And so I just measure the correct usage, the correct time they use LE and overuse that LE, underuse that LE. So still I divided into 2 groups. One is a verb final LE and sentence final LE. So this is something I did last year and published last year. I don't want to elaborate on this one. This is too technical, but I just want to use this example to show the connections between my teaching and my research. In addition to some experimental research, I also write books. Now this book, as Dr. Xiang has introduced just now, and this book was published in 2016. It's called 以课堂为基础的2语习得研究, published by 北京商务印书馆. Now, I think this is the first book in the Chinese language on classroom-based research on second language acquisition. In this book, I focus my discussion on different ways, different techniques, and people teachers employed in classroom and their effects on learning, such as types and roles of classroom interactions between teachers and students and among students. Also look at crack feedback, different crack feedback, and their different impacts on student learning. Now in chapter 7, I focus on learners. So learners are different. They have individual differences. So I just discuss the correlation, correlation between learners, their individual differences, including motivation, learning strategies, their willingness to communicate, and their learning effects. So this is something, in this book, I just reviewed the research findings and critique their findings. So in my last chapter, I summarize research findings in Chinese as a second language. Now, this book was published in 2016. So last year, together with another colleague, we published another book, but this book is in English. So it's called Classroom-Based Research on Chinese as a second language. Now, in this book, we bring together 11 research articles, studies conducted by 11 researchers, including me and my co-researcher. And now these research studies draw on different theoretical framework of second language teaching and learning, including cognitive, sociocultural, educational, and first language learner. They also employ different research methodology, including experimental, correlational, ethnographic, and field study. And now these studies, as I said, take place in real classroom, but in diverse instructional settings, including college level, K-12, online, and study abroad in China. And I think this book has some impact on our later research and related to classroom teaching and learning on learning outcomes. And so now the current project I'm doing now is editing another book. This book is expected to be published next year, early next year. And as the name of the book suggests, so pedagogical grammar, grammar pedagogy in Chinese as a second language. Now, this book is divided into 2 sections. The first section focuses more on what to teach in grammar instruction from linguistic perspective. Grammar pedagogy actually focuses more on how to teach from applied linguistic perspectives. So we hope, this book can be published in a timely manner. I have confidence in that one. So this is something about my research. At the same time, I published textbook writing. So I published 3 textbooks, and all of them actually are business Chinese teaching textbook. I think among the 3, and the best, the 成功之道 perhaps is the best known. For this book, I use real business cases as text, as a lesson, as teaching materials. But I develop, and the lesson structure, I develop exercises, activities within the task-based language teaching principles. And now look at this one. For this one, for this text, actually the text materials is about WeChat. WeChat has been developed, has been on the market for about 10 years. So back to 2011, and it's first launched. So up till now, about just 10 years, almost every Chinese speaking person is using that one. It's so popular. It's very successful. So I use this successful case as a lesson, as a text. But now the text itself is difficult because of the content. I have to use professional language, use special terminology and formal way of style to present the text materials. But our students are not quite ready enough to comprehend now such kind of text. So I just use structured way to scaffold our students to comprehend the text. For example, for this one, I developed this textbook, this table. Now, I just put some of the information from the text, ask students to complete the entire table by locating the information from the text and complete the table. So in this way, they become active learner instead of passive learner. So when we as an instructor explain the text to the students, we explain the vocabulary, the special usage and special way of this text, and we use questions and answers to test, to measure whether students comprehend the text. But in this way, by using this, students become active learner. They have to use their own way. They have to comprehend the text in order to complete this table correctly. So in this way, they become active learner. Now, this is not enough. This is just at comprehension stage. So for this one, there's another exercise I ask students to do. This also includes in my third edition of Business Chinese 成功之道, which will be published this coming summer. So for this one, I just list the top 10 most popular social media apps. So the first one is 脸书 or Facebook or WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, WeChat, so all these things. Now this table actually was based on the information 2 years ago. And now this one actually is monthly active user, the number of monthly active users. Now there's some explanation about each of the app. So basically these vocabulary, these usages appear in the main text. So in this way, students relearn this vocabulary, these usages in another context. And this context actually is a real context and it's related to students' life. So I ask students to re-rank these top 10 apps. They have to do online research and re-rank them. They have to find the current monthly active user number. So they put it here and re-rank them. Of course, I have some comprehension questions and answers after this one. But this one is just a table displayed here. Now this one, using this task, students can be even more as active learner. Okay, now let's come to the next one. I give them another table down the line. So I ask students to choose a social media app they are using or they like the most. Do some online research about its historical development and fill out the following chart. So in this way, they have to use the words, the usages, the sentence patterns they learned in the main text and in the task they perform. I showed previously. And now this is something related to their real life. Then the last task they have to do is to imitate the second paragraph in the text and write out this development, the historical development. So this is something, I just ask students to recycle whatever they have learned, to spiraling, this learning process. I think this might be more effective, more engaging than just teach students. So we just encourage students to be an active learner. So, okay, I think that is something I share with you about my teaching and research and their connections. Thank you for your time, for your time to listen to my sharing. Thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Professor Yuan. We can close this now, and then we can have a bit of a conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much again. So it's really fascinating to hear about your research and your research work, but also the textbook, which is more practical, and how you really think about the usability and the active learning you mentioned quite a few times throughout your talk, which is really, really important concept for all the language teachers as well. I want to go back and start with your research project and also that particular activity when you talk about Ting Lu, right? And I really like the fact that you talk about the production bit. You allow them to use their own language. It's not a traditional way of rigid listen and dictation. So one question I didn't hear is more about the use of the language. So about the Chinese character itself, because we know when we want to develop students' listening comprehension on one hand, but we might also have this challenge of the Chinese characters on the other hand. So when you do this activity with your students, do they have to produce the output in Chinese characters?
Yes. Also, actually, it really depends on your teaching purpose. And if you just want to, want your focus, your teaching focus on developing their listening skills, this is one thing. And production skill is another thing. So down along the line, so character writing. So sometimes if I don't think students are ready with these characters, I just ask them to open books and write a passage. They can use the characters just ready from the textbook. So in this way, they just focus on sentence patterns, the usage, the meaning convenience, rather than character itself. But if you think they're ready, you can just ask them to write the characters, or they can type. So I think they really depend on your teaching purpose and students' proficiency level.
Great. And the research itself, the one you mentioned published in 2019, that's also fascinating. So does the data really confirm the repetitive approach actually works quite effectively? Can you share the key finding a little bit more, because that's fascinating?
Oh, okay. And it's quite complicated. So quite different levels. And if any colleagues are interested in that one, they can just come to this book.
Oh, yes. I see. Okay.
Read the research itself, the study itself in this book. So I think it's about 30 pages.
Okay,
and
great.
I think that is
One question is, because you said the task was repeated twice. Is there any specific reason for that choice of the number? For example, you didn't decide this particular group will repeat 3 times, for example, or 5 times before you get to the conclusion. So you have the control group and you have 1 time and 2 times. Any specific reason for the choices of that?
Okay, and I think 3 times is too much. Students will get bored.
I see. Okay.
Yes, students will get bored. Even the repetition, the second time, actually, I use a similar task, not exact the same one. Otherwise, students might just produce something from their memory rather than using the linguistic resources. So I use a different version, but quite similar. Still time expression, still lower usages, but different ones. Yeah, different context.
I see. Thank you for explaining that. That's great. And one of the things, so talk about your research book, so including the one you just showed us. I will put all your books in our video description. One of the things, there's two things I find really interesting. So one is when you talk about learning strategy. So we talk about individual differences. So I think this is very relevant to the audience who are actually language learners. I just wondered, can you share a little bit more about learning strategies and how it links to different learning styles? Anything that on that front?
Now that book, when I talk about learner individual differences, actually, that part is for researchers and for teachers. Now, so, and I just show in that one, and if you manipulate, do something, you can just improve students' motivation. So that is what I discussed in that book. So back to the learning strategy, I believe people are different, and there's no set of certain set of learning strategies that can apply to everyone. Some people are people's person. Yes, they love to talk, they love to share. While other people perhaps more private, they're willing to keep everything to themselves. But we cannot say the second group people cannot be a successful language learner. So now if that person, if that kind of person, if that group of people, if they can use some way that best suits to them, they can be successful learners. And so that being said, I can still perhaps offer some advice. And the first advice I think I can offer is that be patient. So language learning is a long process. It's a long, perhaps it's a lifetime task. I'm an English learner for many years. I still consider myself a learner, knowledge, perfect in English. So be patient, but at the same time, be optimistic, be realistic, be practical. So now that is what I want to say. We have an old saying in Chinese, 你不可以一口吃一个胖子. So in essence, it means you cannot be as fat as you wish after one day eating. Of course, this concept is no longer true. People don't want to be fat, don't want to be that way. But the essence is that, and you cannot be a successful learner in one day. But keep doing. And if you have determination, if you continue doing things, if you don't give up, you can be a better learner today than yesterday. So by and by, you can improve a lot yourself. People around you, people surrounding you can notice the difference, notice the improvement. So don't give up easily, because we can often see that some people just give up at the end of one year. So this is another thing related to our teachers, related to teachers. I think the primary goal for teachers, the purpose of our standing in the classroom, is to encourage students, to motivate them. So that is the purpose. We have to use different techniques, different ways to motivate our students. So two ways.
And also in your new book, you also talk about the research was looking at different settings, and one of which you talk about online settings, which I thought is very relevant now during COVID and all this. So any advice for learners if they want to study online, or any advice for teachers if they have to deliver online? What is the best thing things they need to be aware of based on your research?
That online teaching is not my research, but I just included in the textbook, in my book. I didn't do something specifically in the online and online context. By my experience, based on my experience teaching, so in online setting, so students have to be more independent. Have to rely more on themselves because teachers are not around them. As a teacher, I think we can be successful in online teaching. For the past 1 year, I've been doing online teaching. I think, I don't notice much difference between online teaching and in-person teaching. But of course, in-person teaching is better way. Now, the online teaching is something we have to do. But we can, manipulate, we can exercise different techniques. Then we can teach better. So we use different screens, ask students perform, just their facial expressions, and so we can just quickly respond. If we found some students is doing something else, we just call that person to do something, or can also just ask students to do one task, just one sentence, another one, so continue with another one, another one. Still, we can do that. In online teaching. I think if we employ different techniques, we can still, we can be still a successful learner and successful teacher.
Yeah, great. My final area is when you talk about your business Chinese textbook. That is one of real success. And I just curious also about so you obviously the talk today very much focused on task-based approach, so we can see really good examples on that. So one question we didn't talk specifically is about culture. So I'm just curious how you incorporate business culture in your business textbook.
Okay, thank you. That is a good question, actually. And I embed business culture into my text. For example, in my second edition of that book, I use Haidilao as a text material. Haidilao is very successful on the Chinese market, which is highly competitive in food industry. But why Haidilao is successful? How Haidilao is successful? So actually, they just provide the best service as they can to their customers. Now, this is one way. This is not enough in my text. I just incorporate that service, that way of doing into macro business culture, of macro Chinese culture. For example, for the past, China has a long history. So for a long time, people were divided into several groups according to their class, different classes. So those people who serve other people are considered inferior. And so for a long time, people just don't like to serve other people because they're considered inferior. But Haidilao is different. They just bring up the service concept, then show that if you serve people well, you can be successful. You can learn respect. You can earn respect from customers. Customers love you. So based on that one, I just incorporate business culture, business behaviors, business strategies into my text. So it's not only language learning. It's also about culture learning and business culture learning. Yes.
Really looking forward
one example.
Really looking forward to the new edition.
Thank you. Thank you.
So my final question, you actually touched a little bit about your advice already, but my final question, if you can only give your top 3 advice to any learners of Chinese, what would that be?
Okay. And so just now I have given one already in education. And be optimistic at the same time. And if you ask me the second one, I can just say, don't be afraid of making mistakes. I think this is an old strategy, but still a very efficient and effective one. And now we know that people are learning things through mistakes. And so don't be afraid of making mistakes. So when you come across someone, so just open your mouth and speak to your students, your classmates, and speak to somebody you can come across on the street who can speak Chinese. And so just use that. Don't be afraid that one. I think that is the one thing I just want to say. Oh, another thing actually. And so for some people, for those people who are more private, who are more shy, perhaps, and you don't want to speak openly with whatever you want, whoever you come across, speak to them. Yeah, for those students, they can just watch Chinese movie, watch Chinese video, imitate pronunciation, tones, way of language use, imitate the way the native speakers are using. Then by and by you can see your improvement. So that is another way. And if you ask me to give another advice, my last one is to learners should learn some communication strategies and try to use communication strategies. So when you speak to actual native speakers, to people who are better than you in proficiency level, some people are more patient. Some people are more sympathetic than other people. So when you come across some people who are not patient, who are other patient with you, you just use some strategies to keep the conversation going, to keep the communication going. You can just say, 你是说, so use that one to summarize what you have understood and what you misunderstood. So the other party can sense, oh, now this person is a language learner, he cannot understand me completely, and so he knows, so the other party knows where the problem is, where the language barrier is. So that person can be more sympathetic. He might slow down the speech pace. He can use simple words, easy words, short sentences. And in this way, you can keep the communication going. And from that communication, so it's also called comprehensible input. So you use your own way to make comprehensive input from I+N to I+1. So that way you can continue, you can learn a lot. Of course, sometimes you can use something like 真好. So so pretending that you understand, actually you don't. But try to use that one to make the conversation more lively, more engaging. But don't use that too much. So try to use communication strategies. That is my last.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Professor Yuan. I really like your last strategy because actually you're the first person provide a strategy focused on interaction and the communication itself. I had previous, obviously, scholars and speakers. They tend to, the advice is focused on learning how to learn and learners themselves. I really appreciate your advice. It's on the communication, the interaction itself, which is wonderful. I think it's definitely something we shouldn't overlook. At the end of the day, it's not about just yourself. It's about how you relate to the other person and how you communicate with the other person. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity.
Great. And hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. I hope you, like me, learned a lot and really enjoyed the conversation with Professor Yuan, and looking forward to seeing you next time. 再见.